The Tour Operators Union of Ghana decided to embark on a familiarization tour. And this time around, they went to the Volta region and the OT region.
Right.
And they decided to just tour all the tourist destinations in those two regions because, again, Ghana is gradually opening up to tourism again, and people have started returning. And so for these tour operators, they said that it was necessary for them to familiarize themselves so that when these tourists come to Ghana, they'll know where to take them.
Right.
Especially because every time they come, everybody goes to Central region. They stay in Accra, Castle, they go to the Ashanti region, and that's it.
Yeah.
But if you go to the Volta and OT regions, there's so many places that you can visit. In OT region, like this, there's a hanging village in Shari.
You told me about it.
And it's a totally, different place altogether. These people live on a hill, and if you're at the foot of the hill, you will not see that anybody even lives there until you climb up.
Yeah.
So there's so many beautiful places.
But those
in the
up there
Volta
can
region.
see down, of course.
Well, yeah, but
to
again, for them as well, they're surrounded by a lot of trees and greenery. So you have to descend to be able to connect with the other towns as well. So many places. And in fact, one of the places that we visited in the Volta region is Fort Prinzenstein. It was built by the Danish in 1784.
Right.
And it was one of the places where they kept these slaves so they can transport them to the Caribbean and all of that.
Right.
And because it was in the Volta region, and of course the Volta region also shares a border with Togo. So they were bringing in slaves from Togo as well. We're told also from, I think, La Côte d'Ivoire and a few other places. And that's where they were kept. And if you go there now, as compared to when it was built, it is heartbreaking. So the female side of the dungeon is completely destroyed by the breeze from the sea because it's sitting just close to, the sea. And so the breeze has destroyed it completely. And I remember that Armstrong Goldalogbe went there. He did a report on it that we were not preserving our history as much. And this was months ago. I was hoping that something would have been done about it. But you go there and it's the same situation. Same situation. At least they tried to preserve a part of it. So you'd see where the males were kept and, the officer's office, their bathroom and stuff. But the female side is all gone. It's been eaten up by the sea. Yeah, completely. We should take a look at it. For those of you who will be interested in touring the Volta region, this is one of the places that you'd want to visit, so take a look. We apologize, unfortunately, we're having some technical hitch here, but we'll try and bring it back as soon as we can. But that wasn't the only place that we visited as well. So remember we told you that we also went to Early Beach Resort. Beautiful
you love that. I wish, you know what, I'm going to take a trip there.
I think you should.
How peaceful you say it is and how serene it is. I would have to take a trip down there.
It's nothing like what we have in Accra. And I think it's also because there are less people who visit that place, and so you don't get the whole pollution.
And you mentioned
and
the water is clean.
It is.
Very, very
absolutely clean.
Wow.
And it's pristine.
Not like we have here in Accra.
Unfortunately, you see, it's because of the numbers we have in Accra. And again, we're also not big on sanitation, even though we keep talking about it.
We are not.
So you go to these beaches and the amount of plastic waste you see, the color of even the water, it's just disappointing. You don't see that when you go to the Volta region. And it's not just the sea. Now, they also have the lagoon and all of that. And if you drive by, it's clear water. Clear water. No plastic waste, none of that. I mean, if you go to the beaches, not to say that it's completely clean. There is some plastic waste, but it's much, much better than what we have in the capital city. And we're told that if you travel to all the other regions as well, you'll also see, unfortunately, Central region, I wasn't impressed with the beach. But this was many years ago. I don't know about now and if they cleaned it.
Maybe it's been cleaned up.
We visited it maybe 6-7 years ago. You cannot even take a stroll along the beach. Because the locals, it wasn't even dead. So the locals go and ease themselves along.
Defecation all over the place.
So you cannot take 2 steps without stepping
at the shore, you mean?
I'm telling you, and this was Cape Coast. This was some years ago. I went to do some work. So we traveled across the country to all the regions. And we went to Elmina Beach Resort to stay the night. And so we came to the Cape Coast side. And we couldn't.
And the shore was a terrible sight.
And the smell, the stench. I do hope that at this point they've done something about it.
I don't understand. Why do we as indigents or as Ghanaians think that it's okay for you to go and ease yourself at the shore? I think it should be an act acts that must even be hidden. You don't even want anybody to see, number one. You don't want anybody to smell it. So why do you want to go and do it at the shore?
They go there at
I
night.
don't understand. So what, you think the sea will just sweep it away and it's okay?
Yeah.
And what? So the fishes are eating your feces, and we
are
are also harvesting them, take them to our kitchens, our restaurants and everything, and that's what we are living on and feeding ourselves with. Why do you think it is okay? I just cannot understand how the African thinks, or how the Ghanaian thinks sometimes. I don't get it. What makes you think that it is okay for you to go and just ease yourself at the shore? The sea will sweep it, fishes will eat it, and then
you come back and eat it as well.
I don't understand.
I think it's easier for us. I think it's easier for us to sit here and ask those questions and criticize, because for us, we're more educated. At least we have homes that have places of convenience.
Right.
But for these people who live, I mean, no excuse is even okay for their act. But if you come from that side and you've grown in an environment where everybody wants to ease themselves and they go to the beach, you might think it's okay.
Because that's the tradition you came to meet.
So are we sensitizing them as much? I know that previous governments have done quite a lot in trying to educate people, but has it been enough? Clearly not.
It hasn't been.
Because even here in the capital city, when you go to Labadi, so they live across the sea, and if it's time, especially when you're driving home in the evening, you see them crossing with their paper and their tissue, and they're going to ease themselves.
And they think it's
at night. You see a lot of them. And I lived in Teshi, so I used to see that constantly when I'm driving back home. And I'd always question myself and ask, why are these people doing this? This is even the capital city.
Right.
And Labadi is supposed to house some of the biggest hotels as well.
Yeah.
But you're greeted with this kind of attitude. So how much more someone who lives very far away probably has not gotten that education? I mean, they'll think it's okay.
It's terrible.
What are we doing about it? It's sad.
It's terrible. It's terrible.
It is.
It's just terrible.
I do hope that a lot can be done about it. And I'm sure that when the time is right, we'll bring you the video from Fort Prinzenstein, so you can also get to take a look at it and help to preserve our history.
So this was the Volta region.
Yes.
Where's our next destination? Do you know?
Well, they haven't said yet.
Okay.
Because they'll also be embarking on another tour.
What was the means of transportation, though? I'm asking because of the. Oh, you guys went with the VIP.
Bus.
I'm asking because of the bus that was launched recently.
Oh,
is that only for the city?
I think so. I don't think that it's meant for
cross-country,
intercity. Yes.
Right.
I think it's just for Accra for now.
Okay.
So we had to go with the regular VIP bus. But our video is ready for Fort Prinzenstein in Keta. Take a look. And finally, we are here at Fort Prinzenstein. It's an old fort that's on the east side of the Volta River. In fact, it is one of the 4 structures that were built by the Danes. And in fact, even before this fort, there was another fort called Fort Singelberg, and that was built by the Dutch. And they were using that to trade some goods. And then eventually there was some misunderstanding. The Dutch left and the Danes came, and there was some misunderstanding between them and the local people here. And so the Danes built this as a dungeon, and there's a bit of history about that. So it was built in 1784, and up until 1803 it served as a dungeon for the slaves to be transported to the Caribbean. Unfortunately, we will not see the best part of it because it's worn out because of the breeze from the sea. But regardless, it's still here. It is still very historical. So let's go in there and hear from the tour guide himself the real history of this place.
Put up by the Danish Norwegians. They started the construction from 1700, they completed 1784. So it took them 84 years to complete this fort. They were buying slaves from Togo, Benin, Nigeria, and other parts of Gold Coast, now Ghana. So those slaves were kept over here for 1 or 2 months and then finally transported over the Atlantic Ocean. And then most of them were sold in a Danish Norwegian island, St. Croix, St. Thomas, St. John. Formerly it was called West Indies, but now US Virgin Islands. So each of the rooms or the dungeons take about 100 to 200 slaves. But initially no ventilation. It was after when the fort was sold to the British. That was the time they created window that we are seeing today. So inside the dungeon, the slaves defecate, urinate, sleep them, and they were dying to insanity condition. The water, they will pour it under the door. They have to use their tongue to lick it. Food were thrown to them, they struggle for it, and finally they use hot iron, which bear the name of the company to mark various parts of their body for easy identification. And the trade by then was so persuasive that even the smallest community, they have to go on a war path in order to secure slaves, to get arms, to defend themselves when attacked. An unfortunate one were then marched to establish slave market. We have the Atoko slave market, where the slaves were put on display like any marketable commodity, and they were sold to the highest bidders. And they also used shea butter or palm oil to rub the body of the slave, just to make them very attractive to the buyers. And then Samori and Babatus in the north, they were raiding, kidnapping, and they challenged some of their slaves through the Tekrachi, that's the northern side, into the fort. So when the slaves arrived into the fort, they were sorted, weighed, branded, and then they opened their mouth to estimate their age by the state of their teeth. So they count their teeth. When it's up to 32, they know they're fully grown adults. So children and younger slaves, they were counted as quarter, half to 3 pieces of cargo, depending upon the estimated commercial value. So they can make 3 children the price of 1 adult slave. So this is the female section of the fort. And the other end, where the sea have destroyed, that's the male section. And this is the only fort in the eastern side of Ghana, and the only fort in Volta region.
Well, yes, so this is Fort Prinzenstein, and we had to show you this part. I think I remember that Amshol Goda Alogbe came here some time ago to talk about how fast the place was deteriorating, hoping that we could do something to preserve it, because this also serves as a major tourist site or destination when you come to the Volta region. In fact, when you come to Keta, this place was built in 1784 by the Danish, and well, as you can see, this part of it is completely worn out, and this would have been the male dungeon, and the female dungeon is on the other side. We're told that is in good shape, and so we got to see a part of that. But unfortunately, this is what is left of a part of Fort Prinzenstein. Well, we've brought you sights and sounds from here in the Volta region, and next time we'll hope to bring you another exciting destination, just so you can also get to know Ghana a bit more. Experience Ghana, share Ghana. That's what the Tour Operators Union of Ghana have to say about exploring our beautiful country. And of course, thanks to the Ministry of Tourism and GTA, Ghana Tourism Authority, for making this possible. So that's about it. TV3Newday, we went on tour into the Volta and OT regions. Well, it's been fun, it's been pleasurable. We'll see you guys another time, but thank you for coming on tour with us. Bye. That's it.
Yeah, so what I've actually deduced from this is our lack of preservation of legacy. I mean, this is something that we should have preserved.
Yeah.
Tourists would have gone there to see. But now when people arrive from the diaspora, what are you going to show them? Because like, it's just the building, half of the building actually, that's just sitting there. The only place that looks a bit clean and good was the female side actually. But the male side is all gone. And that is rich history. That has just been wiped away for nothing. So if people like you or TV3 does not go there to even cover what is left, in the next 5-10 years, there'll be nothing at all. Really. So nothing to show. So what? Fort Prinzenstein is done and dusted. Everything is just gone. There's nothing to show for it. We really have a lot to do, and the Ministry of Tourism has a whole lot to do when it comes to preservation of our history, our legacy, and everything that we've had in the past regarding history of our country. There's so much more that we can do. We should do better.
And especially because, you know, you have to pay to enter. And if you're local, it's usually like 5 cedis. And then when you're not Ghanaian, that's when you pay a little more. And so I wonder what they use that money for. Are we even able to collect enough? Do we have a system that records?
When you arrived, how many tourists did you see?
Oh, well, unfortunately, so I think they said they had closed. Most of their tourist sites were closed because of COVID. Right. And so there weren't, I didn't see people there. Yes, I didn't see people there. But it's really sad, because if you're collecting money from people, over the years, I'm sure that there have been a number of tourists who have visited it. Where did that money go? Exactly. What did they use it for? That's the sad. That's the sad part of it. This would be under the museums
and monuments board.
Okay,
yeah, museums and monuments
yeah.
board. Well, I hope they are taking notice of all these, and I strongly believe that it's not just this place; it's many other places that we could have preserved to show our history. But the way it looks like right now, I don't know where we're headed as a country. And the concentration, like you mentioned, the concentration is just on Elmina Castle and just a few. But even in those places, exactly what was there a few years ago to show for it is not even there anymore. You don't even know how they disappear and how they are not even there anymore. But
I remember either the Cape Coast Castle or the Elmina Castle, they had to give it a facelift to a certain extent, even though they tried to preserve, you know, all the other things to look very natural. But they still had to give it a facelift so that it would encourage more tourists to visit it, because it's one of the most visited tourist destinations. Exactly. So they tried. But for these other places, unfortunately, no. And Johnny was just raising a concern from behind the scenes. Now, the forts are under the
Museums and Monuments Board,
Now, somewhere like Kakum National Park is under the forestry. And so we have them all under different institutions.
Exactly.
So how are we able to monitor and ensure that we can collect them? If we put them all together, then maybe that way we have one umbrella institution that can monitor and ensure that we generate enough funds to work on these places. But unfortunately, we don't see that happening. So it's sad, but
I'm sure duty bearers are watching, stakeholders are also watching this morning, and together, let's just do something to preserve our culture and our history. A lot has gone on, especially when it comes to Africa and the slave trade. You were actually telling me how they used to hang things around their necks so they will not be able to run away through the bushes.
Exactly. So, I mean, it was just this rod around their neck and it had long spikes.
Right.
You know, and when I read on it, it said that the reason why they had that was so that it would prevent the slaves from trying to escape. Because the fort was surrounded by greenery. It was literally a forest around it. And so anytime they tried to escape, the branches of get trees caught on to these spikes, and then these slaves would not be able to escape. So that's how badly treated our forefathers were. It's very sad.
I saw those heavy chains on their legs as well, and it made their legs sore, you know. And I don't want to go into the pain and the anguish, but Johnny, you're here.
I am. This thing always brings me some tears, but also the fact that we have not learned a lot from these things. Because if we are recounting the pain that our forefathers went through, and you look at the state of those facilities, it brings back the pain again. And just as you were mentioning earlier, the governance system within that tourism sector seems to be more focused on the creative bit. And then we have left all this, because these are monuments of our history, and we need to focus on them. I still don't understand why Kakum National Park will be under Forestry Commission. And then you have museums and monument boards handling our castles and forts. Even that one, there's a problem, because Asha Fort and James Fort is terrible. And it's breaking apart. I mean, you just had to paint it and do regular maintenance. You're talking of Fort Prinzenstein. There's so many. There's one in Volta region, completely abandoned. Now it's been eaten away by the sea. Independence Square is a monument. It's beautiful, but it's under national security. So the checkered nature of it, and minister after minister for a creative industry, tourism and culture have come, and you don't seem to see what's happening in that sector. Because this is we travel to South Africa to go and watch things. You go to Robben Island.
It is when you travel that you see the disparity, because Robben Island is preserved.
It is.
You go to Robben, people go to Alcatraz. People travel all around to just go and see it. They take $10, $20 from you per run. And you can imagine the numbers that go there even in one day. Then we have all of these things here. It's open. I went to one of the forts in Cape Coast, for example, Elmina. There's somebody who was living there in the place with his wife and children.
I saw that as well. When I went there,
I asked him, how much do I pay to get the tour? He said, 5 cedis. But he can reduce it to 3 cedis. So I gave him the 5 cedis. Then he started the tour with me, showed me, this is where they used to sleep. This is
That's
all.
He
said, the rest I can go and explore.
Where was the tour guide?
So
there's no tour guide. So he is the guy.
Exactly. So
who
that's
lives
what
around
gave
there.
him that
So that's
mandate.
what I was told, that this is
thing
the
has been
tour guide,
abandoned, so
but
he's
nobody
there.
takes care of him. So he's there with his wife. So while sleeping or eating or whiling away the day, if anybody comes, he's the one who takes you around. So rightly, like you said,
and he will
for
do
5
2-3 spots with you.
Yeah.
So start from the main gate. Tell you.
Remember
what kind of history?
Remember when the guy started the narration in the Volta region? I asked if he could speak good English, because this one, he just couldn't construct anything properly for me to understand. So the bits and pieces that he's also picked up along the way was what he was telling me about.
And
me a few things, and then that was it.
I have an interest in anthropology. So I've been to one of our big castles. I went for the tour for 3 times that same day. It was deliberate. The first tour guide told us a story. The second tour guide told us another story, but there were disparities. When you're telling me about this bottle of water, the story should be constant. The third guy also told us a different story, even though his was more emotional. What's my point? My point is that when we travel outside, the tour guides that you meet, they have so much wealth of knowledge, they have authority and control. In our particular case, we have a tour guide association or whatever, what's it called. But what I saw, for example, at that fort in Elmina, this is somebody and his wife and their children living there with some ketting and all of that. So as and when you
like
come,
some mosquito
whatever story they feed
whatever,
you
what is
like
fine is what they tell you. So even though I had read about that particular fort, he was just telling me something to collect my money.
And the only time they get proper tour guides for these places is when there's emancipation.
Right.
You know, when there's emancipation and they come
exactly.
That's when they organize proper tour guides. But otherwise, any other day that you'll go and meet this guy and his wife.
Let's do a comparison, and it's not in any bad light, but we just want to see how South Africans have preserved their history. As against what we showed you with regards to Fort Prinzenstein. So let's go back to when we went to South Africa and we went on tour at Robben Island. Take a look.
It's time for us to take a look at where late President Mandela was kept for 17 years as a prisoner. Very popular tourist destination, and it is the Robben Island. We're about to go and get our tickets, hop on a boat, and of course go explore Robben Island. Let's do this. Finally, we're here at the Robben Island, and we're here to learn all about the history of the very first president and the late Nelson Mandela. Very, very smooth ride, I must say. This is my first time on a boat on the water, and so this has been a very exhilarating experience. But let's go in there and learn more about where the first president was kept for 17 years. This is Berlin Cape Town, brought to you by South African Tourism. Let's go.
Too bad that we couldn't bring you.
It's okay. You have to travel and go and see.
Travel and see.
Yeah. So the Ghana Tourism Authority has some double-decker buses. We can use that to go.
That bus is only within the city.
Yeah, so that's the question I asked. Why must it be only for the city?
Do you want to sit in that bus and go to Kumasi?
No, but at least, but inside and not at the top. The down part of it, exactly. And then maybe was in Kumasi, when the sun is down, then you can take the top and go around.
So when I was a kid,
down, like 4 or 5 more baby.
So see, when I was a kid, I went on one of those double-decker buses with my grandmother. She's late. We call him Mankuta Mankuno.
Yeah, I heard that before.
Then when I went in as a kid, I was excited about the fact that there's another thing at the top. So I went to climb up. Then my grandmother shouted,
Ba
Bashipon, driver then change.
I heard that story before. I heard that story before.
Okay.
Anyway,
we'll take a break. So this is a wake-up call for all of us. We want to stay here. Sometimes not because we want to travel. We want to be able to stay here and feel that there's a heritage that we can keep. Go to all our tourist sites. All of it has apologies.
Yeah.
All of them. And the washroom, for example, even at the Brie Gardens, is terrible. Terrible.
Yeah, terrible.
Terrible, terrible.
And
No, you would want to go in there. So we have stuff. I mean, even though colonialism was terrible for us, but they've left us stuff that we can preserve and make money from it. What are
you
we
see,
doing?
and in South Africa as well, so their tourism is organized. Everywhere you go, it's organized.
Right.
Even in paying for your tickets,
digital.
Nobody collects
There's
cash
no
from
exchange
you
of
like
cash.
That.
Yeah,
there's a system. And they have accredited tour guides. So you have to go through some kind of training and all of that to become a tour guide.
But it's big business.
To take people around.
We joke with it.
So you don't just get up and take one room in the fort with your wife and kids and wait for someone to come so you can collect 5 cedis or 2 cedis to say, okay, so this is where the men slept.
Yeah.
What kind of...
I can tell you on authority that even though we have a tour guides association, there are people who organize tours for people. They are taking them from Accra to make Cape Coast or Kintampo, and they are now telling them from the top of their head what it is. This is that. They're sometimes unnecessary, and most of the people who live around the tour sites, tourist sites.
Interrupt, but then there's just a man who showed on the screen.
Yeah.
Now he was in this same prison when
the
late
Mandela
Mandela,
was there.
this man.
Oh, this
Okay.
So
man.
he was there with him.
Oh,
so who better than him to tell the
first-hand
story?
experience.
He tells you his experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that, for example, a tour guide situation is so terrible that you see where you went. The people who live around that place, even before you get on the boat to go to the island, they understand the value of what they have.
Yeah.
So they try to take advantage of it and to live the experience that would make you come back.
Exactly.
In our situation, go to Cape Coast Castle. The first point is the people are begging for you, from you, or looking for a way to extort money from you.
Yeah.
They sell this at 10 cedis, but once they see it and you are with a few white people, they want to sell it for 50 cedis or 20 cedis.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that until we get to understand that tourism is a big earner, it will make us money. We don't need to have dirty forts and castles. We need to paint them annually. I mean, the bond of 1844 was signed from the Cape Coast Castle.
Of course.
Who best to tell that story? Today we are talking about Dan Korbuzia, we're talking about Jerry Rollins, we're talking about UGCC, everything else. Where did it start? Where did it start? So where it started, that hall, it's crumbling, it's dirty. Anyway,
going for a breather.
Sad,
We'll be right back.
they should not
with
just
some
chop the post. They
entertainment.
should work the post.